3 minutes left until the battle ends. We're getting there. We're getting to that point. Win conditions. That's all I gotta say. Win conditions. Good afternoon, Pokésports. Welcome to another VGC Battle Sim Regulation E video, bringing you a Fire Tauros team. Now, this team is from Coran93 on our Pokésports Discord. If you guys want to go ahead and send us rental teams, taking Regulation F rental teams right now because that's right around the corner. But if you want to send us some Regulation F rental teams, go ahead, post the Pokepaste down in the rental codes chat on our Discord. Links to the Discord are at Pokésports.info. Just type that into your address bar. It should be pretty easy to find. Now, Coran went ahead and did that. And here we have a Fire Tauros team. Now, we used Water Tauros or Watoros not too long ago with our TOEDSCRUEL team. And yes, we are post-commentary Kevin again today. I think we have one more post-commentary Kevin video. And then we'll be back to live commentary Kevin. Past Kevin. But yeah, we did use Watoros not too long ago. I kind of liked it a lot. And I thought that, hey, it's been a while since we used Fire Tauros. Now you might be thinking, hey, Kevin, why would you use a Fire Tauros when you have an Arcanine, a Hisuian Arcanine that does pretty much the exact same thing? And the answer to that question is yes. Anyway, we have Garganacl on this team, so we don't want to double up on like rock types. So we have the Fire Tauros here instead. Duh. We don't want to have two rock types on the same team. Silly. But the whole premise of the team is to essentially set up Trick Room. Fire Tauros helps with that a little bit because it gives the opponent another target that isn't Cresselia. Anyway, first game of the day, going against Roaring Moon, who doesn't like Fire Tauros at all. And hey, look at me. Look at me checking to see and make sure what the Fire Tauros can do. We have Flame Charge on this, which I found kind of interesting. Right? I saw Flame Charge initially. I was like, oh. Different? But hey, it worked sometimes, I think. So I'm going to go ahead, start off with the Cresselia, start off with the Tauros, get the Intimidate off against their very, very, very physical team. Everything on that team is very physical except for the Amoonguss. Now, the Amoonguss is initially a problem, especially for Trick Room, but I looked at this team, I was like, wait, Amoonguss can't sleep anything on this team. The only thing Amoonguss can sleep on this team is my Cresselia and my Fluttermane. Can't sleep Garganacl. I have safety goggles on Fire Tauros. And I'm a Rillaboom. And then, what was the last thing I had? Oh, Flame Orb on my Ursaluna, so that can't even go to sleep. So, initially I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to Trick Room because there's a Amoonguss here. That's typically a bad thing. Not always. Not always. Now, Fire Tauros is going to be the lead. Gonna get the Intimidate off against their Iron Hands. Oh, I remember this game. Okay, you guys might want to pause the video and get a snack. Just saying. I might want to pause the video and take a sip. This is going to be a game. Okay. Yep. We know what to do. Anyway, I'm seeing their side of the field. I want to go for this close combat, but I think it's so obvious. This is the world's most obvious close combat, which is why I don't want to go for it. But at the same time, I really want to go for this close combat. Not too afraid of the fake out from the Iron Hands because I am Cobra Cloak on my Cresselia. Unfortunately, they do fake out my Tauros though. So I'm not able to go and get the close combat. And then they're going to hit me with the sub. When was the last time you saw a sub heat ran? I feel like it's been ages. Anyway, I set the Trick Room up, but now I just realized my Tauros is now the fastest thing on the field, or the slowest thing on the field, so not the most ideal situation to put myself in, but now I feel pressured to either swap or break that sub. I honestly didn't know which I would rather do, but I think a very, very fair trade for me, or very fair swap in for me, would just be to bring in Ursaluna and call it a day. If I take damage this turn, I take damage this turn. I'm just going to hope that it's not too much. I'm going to hope that the Iron Hands can't hurt me too bad with the Drain Punch after I intimidated it. And then we'll see where it goes from there. They just go for the Volt Switch. So my Bear swap in? Amazing. Respect the Moon. Alright, Moonblast gonna do absolutely nothing. Speaking of the Moon, gonna do absolutely nothing. Gonna lower the special attack on the Iron Hands, which doesn't matter. Heatran goes for the Earth Power on my Ursaluna. Thankfully doesn't do too much damage. And currently, I'm in a situation now where I have a burnt Ursaluna, who should be the fastest thing on the field. They have a Heatran and an Iron Hands, two things weak to ground. I have a Levitator next to me. And I think I have Earthquake on this set. I hope I do. This feels like a very prime position to be Earthquaking right about now. Yeah. Do it, Kevin. Do it, Kevin. Hit him with the EQ. Yeah, okay. The EQ is very obvious, but I did it anyway. They're going to take the heart swap now, go into the Strutter. It's going to be the Landorus, okay, to take the EQ. Future Kevin, looking back at past Kevin, wishes past Kevin went for the Facade there. If I hit that Facade there, that would have been a goated turn. Very, very good turn. Unfortunately, all I did this turn was just break a sub. But again, sub on Heatran is annoying, specifically for a Trick Room. That might be why they have sub on Heatran, because I play like a lot of Indeedee Armorer stuff, and I know I hate sub on Heatran. It's really irritating. Good news is all the damage that I took last turn from the Earth Power is now gone. So we take those, and now just like that, it's all back. And I get burned by my Flame Orb again. So nothing happened on our side of the field. Actually, nothing happened at all in this game from last turn to this turn, except for the sub breaking on the Heatran. Now that, you know, past Kevin's listening to future Kevin, I see that I should have facaded last time, and I'm facading now. Now, how much damage can the -1 facade do to the Landorus? Honestly, I was surprised. I thought it still would have been enough. Personally, I really thought that this should have been enough, and in my brain, that was a KO. But this must be a very defensive Landorus set. That's the only thing that I could possibly think of. No, considering, like, now that I'm seeing that U-turn damage, it might have been a very, like, a defensive Landorus. Or something. There's something going on there. I don't know. Do you guys think that Facade should have knocked out? It was -1. That's it. It was just -1. All right, Iron Hand's coming back out. This is a little bit irritating for me because they get another fake out turn here is what that means. And because they get another fake out turn, they essentially also get another substitute turn, which essentially wastes another turn in my Trick Room. My opponent is really good. And I hate how good they are because they are messing with my brain. They're messing up my mind. Like, I almost switch Ally Switch was a higher priority than Fake Out because then I would have clicked it. But alas, it ain't. So I thought, hey, whatever. Might as well swap. Might as well get the Intimidate. They're going to fake me out anyway. So I saw no real reason to stay in there. Back into Tauros, baby. Short video. Intimidate again. You get him, buddy. Withdraws the Heatran. Honestly, that's a blessing. They're going to withdraw the Heatran, go back into the Strutter Landorus. The Landorus Intimidate cycle is getting irritating. I'm feeling it too because the majority of my team, pretty much everything on my team, is weak to it. Now here's the other unfortunate thing. I swapped out thinking they would fake out. They didn't fake out. They went for a hard Drain Punch there. And I undid the Trick Room because I knew I was going to bring back my Tauros. But at the same time, I don't want to undo Trick Room. I just want to extend Trick Room because I did think that they wasted enough turns of it. So if I can extend it by resetting it, I would be better off. All right, let's go for the nice and simple CC. The reason why I want to CC this spot is because I'm expecting Landorus to swap. I know the Landorus wants to swap. I know my Trick Room will go up after this turn. And there is the U-turn. And we get the swap correctly. But the problem is, I thought they were going to swap into Heatran. My opponent's not that stupid. They are not that dumb. They did not fall for it. Because instead of the Heatran, they thought about it. Look, they're thinking about it. They swap into the Rank Master. That being the Among Us. If only I hit Raging Bull right there, dude. There were so many opportunities in this game where I could have played this better. Where I could have made a prediction, where I could have gotten it right. But I messed it up. See, in the back of my mind, I was like, I know they have a Heatran somewhere in the back, so I'm going to go for the close combat. But instead, they brought in the Among Us on that spot. I went for the close combat there, loaded my own defenses for absolutely no reason, and now the Heatran goes into the other spot after I set Trick Room back up. So now, my Tauros will be the slowest thing. Come on, past Kevin. What are you doing? It's okay. It's all good. We are still not out of this game yet. right? This is looking like it's not going our way, though. My opponent has literally every single page of our book in their hand memorized, ready to be rewritten from memory. We have to somehow find a plot twist somewhere in this story. We gotta search for it, we gotta hunt for it. Now I know that, hey, the Amoonguss most likely is gonna sleep one of my two things right now. They are in Trick Room, they're gonna sleep my two things. I bring in both Pokemon that I have that can't be put to sleep, while they also go for the Fairy Terra, expecting me to go for another CC into their Heatran. They know I want to knock out this Heatran so bad. They know it. Instead of Sporing, they just go for a Palm Puff, though. And then just hit me with the Heat Wave. That actually knocks out my Tauros. So Tauros has done nothing in this game, is what that means. And I'm now left without it. I'm actually so surprised Tauros went down there. Looking at what I have left, you wouldn't expect me to, like, spend another 10 minutes in this game, but somehow, I think we do. I think we get pretty darn close. But you know what? Even with what we have, all we need is Garganacl. That is quite literally all we need. I was so happy with the Garganacl a couple of days ago when I used it on the Trick Room team with the Golem that I'm kind of reliving that vibe. I really do like Garganacl on Trick Room. I think it's super underexplored, and I think it's actually pretty decent. Because now, my opponent's in a situation where they have to choose. Do they want to knock out Moonbear, or do they want to deal with this Garganacl before this Garganacl gets to +6? And again, the Amoonguss can't do much here. The Amoonguss is kind of sitting duck on their side of the field. Alright, here's my first Iron Defense. Garganacl even slower than this Amoonguss in Trick Room. Pollen Puff into their Heatran. Gonna bring it all the way back up to full. I'd rather have that than anything else. Big boing boing bop onto the Heatran. Straight knockout. We traded. Did we trade Terras? Hold up, did I Terra yet? I don't think I did. No, I just gave him a Fire Tauros. Oh, that's pretty. We traded fire types. That's a pretty decent trade. I think I win that trade in the end. Alright, let's see what they go in with now. It's probably gonna be the Landorus, because why wouldn't you? Nope, it's the Iron Hands. I was wrong. They swap into Iron Hands. They have a Fake Out option now. And I have my own options here. I think what I'm going to do is hit him with that Ghost Terra, because the Ghost Terra legitimately locks in my win con, I think. They don't have anything for a Ghost Terra. Right now, as a Rock type, they can Drain Punch me, and they can hit me with Stomping Tantrums. Or Giga Drain, I guess. But as a Ghost type, what can they do, realistically, to a +6 Garganacl? Nothing. And I know it's nothing. I'm also going to Protect Bear just in case they Fake Out of the spot and they want to put it, they just want to hit me with like a Drain Punch or Fake Out. I also don't know my speed tiers. Technically, I'm thinking they don't have a Trick Room team. So my Bear should outspeed their Iron Hands. Because if they're not min speed and I'm min speed, we're not speed tying. But if they're min speed and I'm min speed, now we're speed tying. And now this could be an issue. So I'm a little bit cautious, but at the same time, I'm confident that I can go for this EQ. I could probably take it very well with my Garganacl. I was thinking about wide guarding just to not take the damage, but at the same time, I remembered, oh, I'm gonna be +6. It doesn't matter. But here's the issue. Sure, I'm +6. Congratulations, Kevin. You're +6 now, brother. The Iron Hands was min speed. His non-Trick Room Iron Hands was min speed. This is a rough game for me, man. I'm having a difficult time. Twisted Dimensions return to normal now. That was a min speed Iron Hands that whole time. That's actually insane. Now, back into Crest. I need to get health back. But I know I'm getting put to sleep. There's no point in Trick Rooming because I'm getting put to sleep. But what I can do is I can go for the Ally Switch so that the Purifying Salt can catch the Spore, and then I can at least get one turn of the Salt Cure going. We're having some Mushroom Prosciutto tonight, folks. Wild Charge is going to do absolutely nothing. We got to see, we got to have a little bit of a taste of what that Wild Charge is going to be doing to this Garganacl. Just a little bit of a taste. And now this is when the long game begins. Nice little crit too there. I'll take that. The long game begins here. Because my option now is to live forever, which I think I can, while slowly bleed their team down. Now, initially, I'm like, they have no form of recovery on either one of these Pokemon. The Drain Punch won't be doing that much damage to me. They can't even Drain Punch my Garganacl anymore. I should be safe. I miscalculated the Pollen Puff, man. The Pollen Puff on this Amoonguss is going to do so well for them for the remainder of this battle. And stick around, because I'm going to skip through a lot of the boring parts just because it'll eventually get to that where it's just a big nothing burger until the very end of the video. I'll skip through all that just to show you what they end up doing to me, because this is a very good pivot and it's a very good strategy, especially for running a team similar like my opponent. Like, honestly, even though this game is so long, you can learn so much from watching this. That's why I didn't want to cut it down, because I want to show at least all the important bits. All right, Wild Charge into my Crest. Not too bad. They go for the Spore into my Crest. They don't want me to trick them again. Makes a lot of sense. I keep this turn nice and simple. Go for the secondary Salt Cure. I now got double Cure on my opponent's side of the field. I believe this next turn is where they blow me away. Because I was so confident now that they're both Salt Cure, now that I'm both +6, I could start body pressing things, right? You'd think that this would be a simple concept, Kevin, to just start body pressing things. So I do that. I body press the Iron Hand spot, but they don't leave in Iron Hands. They don't let me get away with that. Why would they let me get away with that? And I also don't prioritize this Amoonguss too much. Oh, wait, actually, no, they do let me body press the Iron Hands. Never mind, I take it back. They don't let me Iron Press anything. They're going to Volt Switch out, go into the Landorus. It's going to get the Intimidate off on me. Not that it matters, because I'm only going for body presses. I guess it matters a little bit if I was going for the... what's it called? Salt Cure? But look at this. I thought this would do enough. He Pollen Puffs himself all the way back. And this is all because he stopped my Trick Room and controlled the speed. And he does the exact same amount as my Body Press with the Pollen Puff. So now I'm just like, oh. Oh, this is bad, huh? This is real bad, huh? I should have been focusing this Amoonguss so long ago. This all goes back to when I decided to close combat instead of the Raging Bull, right? It all goes back to that. That's where this all started. Because if it wasn't for that, this Amoonguss would have been gone, and I wouldn't have to deal with this right now. But at the same time, it's so risky going for a fire move when you know Heat Rain's in the back. So I can't even blame past Kevin for that decision, because it could have gone one of two ways. It was a coin toss, and it just happened to hit tails instead of heads. But regardless, yeah, this is kind of what they do to me. This is kind of the pain that we have to go through, that we have to sit through, because now they also have Regenerator Boost. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh no, the timer, man. The timer's still ticking. The timer hasn't stopped ticking. I did notice my opponent's starting to take a little bit more time picking their moves. It's like they're trying to take this to timer. They have 3 Mons left. I have 1. Right? That's not looking good for me. Because if you guys don't know, the way that the timer works when the game does go to timer is that the number of Pokemon a person has left is taken into account first. And if the opponent, if the 2 players have the same number of Pokemon left, then the total HP stat on both Pokemon added together, the higher number wins. It's not looking good for me because they have 3 Pokemon. I only have 1. But I wanna call your attention to something very interesting that I'm gonna ask you guys to remember for later. And then you'll see why it's interesting. But again, like I said, my opponent is running down the timer. They know that this is their win con. They know they can't knock out Garganacl. And hey, if that's your win con, play to it. I respect it. I only don't like people stalling when it doesn't make a difference. This legitimately will make or break the victory or the loss of this game. Every single second of this game counts. They're going to go for the Volt Switch. They're going to Palm Puff their Landorus right back up because, again, they can. 3 minutes left until the battle ends. We're getting there. We're getting to that point. And even when they swap out the landers, they're taking their time. Listen, man. Win conditions. That's all I gotta say, win conditions. Alright, Lander is coming back out. Gonna get the Intimidate again. Every single second of this Intimidate animation also matters too. Alright, Paldean Puff. Gonna bring the Lando all the way back up. And now let's speed through this real quick. I want to bring you guys' attention because if you look at the bottom right, you might be able to notice it still says Cresselia's name down there. And eventually, after all this time passes through, I'm able to bring them down to 2 Pokemon. Right? This is their final 2 Pokemon. Timer has run out. You defeated. I won. I shouldn't have won. Because the Cresselia still counted as in that slot. The bug won me the game. I don't mind. GG. Anyway, hi Louie, nice to meet you. What a stupid bug, right? Because the Cresselia was still coded in that slot, was still remaining there at 0 HP, it counted as 2 Pokemon left. And since it was 2 Pokemon versus 2 Pokemon, they took the total HP stat, and since I was full HP on my Garganacl, I won the game. Okay. Anyway, hi Louie. Louie rocking the Urshifu plus the Rillaboom plus the Thundurus. Another Thundurus that we're seeing today. I feel like I'm seeing a lot of Thunduruses while recording in this shirt today. Got the Fluttermane as well and King Gambit. Also Ogerpon, Hearthflame, Mask. Now, I see King Gambit initially. King Gambit's not the greatest thing for Fire Tauros. Not the greatest thing at all. In fact, it's not great to face it when you are a Fire Tauros, but I'm gonna bring Fire Tauros to this game. I might not lead with it because that'd just be silly, but I will bring it to this game. My opponent's actually gonna lead Watersh with Flutter. Very aggressive lead. I'm actually very happy with my lead, seeing this lead. I was like, okay, this works. I can get Trick Room up. I don't care. I can keep this nice and simple, nice and stupid. In fact, I was a little bit cocky. I was like, I know for a fact. Also, don't ask me why it's Electric Terra. I have no idea. You can ask Karan93. Because it might be just because ground moves. I don't know. I was so cocky that I knew that they were going to swap. I was like, I'm not even going to bother faking this out. There's no point. There's no point to the fake out. Instead, I'm going to go for the U-turn. Get some initial damage on the Fluttermane. I'm also very confident I could take this Crest hit and chip away a Fluttermane's potential sash, or just get that initial damage off. Typically, Fluttermanes are EV to live 1 or 2 hits, but never more than that, right? All right, into the bear we go. Into the Trick Room we are. New problem. I'm a ground type looking at a Rillaboom now. Now, them going for the Rillaboom swap was not in the books, was not in my calculation. I didn't expect that, but you know what? There are worse things in the world. I could just go for the Fairy Terror right away. The Fluttermane, yeah, sure, it could do a lot of damage to me. But at the same time, I had kind of a suspicion that it was either Spexed or Focus Sash right here. So I was a little bit confident. I'm like, there's no way they're gonna go for the Specs Shadow Ball into my Ursaluna. Why would they do that? So instead, I swap in my Tauros, get the Intimidate off on the Rillaboom, hopefully catch a stray Grassy Glide, because even my Crest was low enough HP to where Grassy Glide might have been enough to knock it out. And then we're gonna go for Heart Bear. Moon Bear fell in love, folks. We got Heart Bear on the field. Alright, Grassy Glide into my Ursaluna. Not gonna do any damage after that Intimidate. Really, really working out. Then we go for the Boing Boing Pop onto the Rilla, and just like that, a big threat gone from their side of the field. Shadow Ball again. After this second Shadow Ball, I was like, okay. Okay, that did a lot of damage. That felt like more damage than I was expecting. And they didn't go for a Dazzling Gleam, which would have done about the same there. It would have knocked out my Cresselia, and then they would have done whatever they wanted with the Rillaboom. But they went for the Shadow Ball instead, so I'm like, yes, they're specs. They have to be specs. There's no reason they go for Shadow Ball again. There's no reason to click Shadow Ball ever in that spot. You have to be specs. Also, not to mention how much damage they legitimately did to my Tauros. Like, don't get me wrong. I understand that so far this video, Tauros has done not much but die and set an Intimidate. But that was a lot of damage. From full health, 25, that's a significant amount of damage. All right, into the Urshi they go. Listen, I'm at the point of this game where I'm just like, I'm just going to keep using Tauros for Intimidate. I don't know what else to do with it. I'm like running a Trick Room team and I have a Tauros on this team. I'm just like, I'm just going to keep intimidating, I guess. Like, what other reason do I have not to? Tauros kind of got a jam. He's like this. He's going in. Yeah, look at him. Our opponent's locking in. Maybe they're considering swapping out this Flutter Mane. If they swap out this Flutter Mane, that would have just sold it to me even more than this is Specs Flutter. And this is the kind of stuff that you have to pay attention to. If it can carry Specs, assume it has Specs. Alright, they protect with the Urshifu. The Facade's gonna go into nobody. I hard swap just so I could take any incoming attack. I was expecting a Surging Strikes into my Rillaboom spot. I got a Shadow Ball instead, and even that doing half health to my Rilla is a little wild, dude. That should not be doing that much damage to my Rillaboom. I don't care what or who you are. But you know what? Now we can just hit him with the Grassy Glide. Not even Grassy Glide. I can go for a Wood Hammer here. I'm going big with this Rillaboom. Go for the Stomping Tantrum because we can't EQ in Grassy Terrain. That's counterintuitive. If you guys don't know, Grassy Terrain reduces the amount of damage EQ does by 25%. Or is it 50? It's one of them. I know it's enough to not want to use it. So instead we go for the Stomping Tantrum onto the Flutter Mane. Big straight KO. No Protect to be found because it's Specs. And all that's left is a poor little Ursh that I hit with the Bop. What can I say, man? Trick Room is my passion. Like, that's all this is. I'm just having a blast at Trick Room right now. It clicks in my brain. I just get it. All right, let's see what their final mon is. It's the Ogerpon. And honestly, Ogerpon is the one Pokemon that can really mess me up with Grassy Glides. Like, I'm sure my bear did appreciate it. I only have so many Trick Room turns left. All they had to do was Spiky Shield here and then stall up my Trick Room. Because, yeah, I checked my Trick Room turns. I just have one turn left. So I was like, I don't want to take Spiky Shield damage plus burn. What can I do? I'm just going to protect. I'm going to keep it nice and simple. I might be overthinking it a little bit here. And while simultaneously doing that, I'm going to swap into Tauros just so I get another Intimidate. And battle was canceled. Taking another Dubski against Lewis. And here we have Golden Boy. This time, we're going Trick Room v Trick Room. And honestly, they're playing a very Kevin-looking team. I know that this team with the Regidrago and the Psy Spam did recently get top, it might have been top 5 or top 8 at a regional not so long ago, or maybe it was LAIC. It was something. I know I made a big deal about it on the podcast. Also, shout out to the podcast if you aren't already listening to the podcast. We upload it here on YouTube every Friday. We also upload it on podcasting providers so that you can watch it or listen to it during your commute. Anyway, I'm deciding what to do. I go Tauros, I go Garganacl. Just because I kind of have a feeling that they're going to lead with Torkoal. Now, I'm looking at this team. I play so much Psy Spam. I play so much Trick Room. I play so much Lilycole that I'm like, okay, that whole team has spread moves. Every single last Pokemon there has spread moves. Garganacl has Wide Guard. I plan on using that for the rest of this battle. Now, that's kind of why I led with it. That's kind of why I thought it was good enough for me to lead with it. And I also expected them to go Lilycole in the lead, which is why I decided to bring the Tauros. I know this was a little bit risky, because there was a world where they go in DD Armarouge, and then I might be a little bit messed up, but again, the Wide Guard would have just saved me. So for this turn, I got a couple options here. Now, I know that they're going to be fast, and I know that I can't really stop them from being X amount of fast, but what I can do is I could terrestrialize my Garganacles so that I don't die to a Leaf or a Solar Blade, or I don't die to a close combat, just in case they want to go down that route. And I could just not care about this Illigant that much, and also because I have safety goggles on my Tauros, and because I am purifying Salt on my Garganicle, I'm so safe from the Sleep Powder as well. I was like, okay, this is the easiest turn for them. Either they're going to Sleep Powder me, they're going to close combat me, or they're just going to After Eruption. That's it. I couldn't think of another possibility here. Because one, I haven't shown the Wide Guard yet. Maybe my opponent remembers what Garganicle do. But personally, I don't look at Garganicle and think, oh, that has Wide Guard. I look at Garganicle and I think, oh, I'm going to hate my life. But I hit him with the Wide Guard turn 1. I show it to them right away, turn 1. Let's see if they come up with it. I see the After You. I was like, okay, we're fine. This is great. They're going to After You. They're going to Erupt. We're going to be fine. I got hit with the Earth Power, dude. They saw it coming. So I hit him with the Flame Charge. I get the Illigant down to very, very low, and I get a nice little speed increase. The speed increase won't matter too much. I'm essentially a sitting duck, unfortunately. So at this point, I'm like, now what? Because I legitimately don't know what to do. What I do know is they cannot be that brave to go for another... They can't be that brave to go for an Eruption this time because... You know, they just saw my Wide Guard. Like, maybe you didn't know I had it last turn, and now you know I have it. It'd have to be so brave and so aggressive to go for the Eruption this turn. So I just go for the Soul Cure onto the Torkoal. And I'm going to see where it goes from there. Hopefully I'll get some initial damage off on Torkoal. Hopefully I'll chip it down a little bit so that the Eruption, if it does go for the Eruption, it's not going to hurt too bad. They swap out, though. Now, past Kevin's like, they swap there? It smells like a Specs. It might be a Specs. And that's kind of where my brain is going. I see that swap out, I'm considering the Specs. They go for the CC into my Tauros. Gonna go from, gonna hit my Protect, so it's not gonna do too much damage. I actually don't mind getting this Salt Cure off on the Indeedee. That's fine for me. That actually is ideal for me. It means I'm gonna start getting initial damage off on this DD. Having the Indeedee on the field without the Armor Rouge as well is also pretty nice for me. I'm not going to complain about it. I'm going to take this Hard Swap here into my Rillaboom. I might as well stop them from having the terrain while also going for the Salt Cure on the Illigant spot. If Illigant decides to stay in, it goes down. If Illigant decides to swap into the Armor Rouge or the Torkoal, which I presume they have an Armor Rouge and a Torkoal in the back because they have the Indeedee here. So why would you bring one without the Armor Rouge? So no matter what, the Salt Cure into that spot is always a good play unless they click Protect. And if they click Protect, then they click Trick Room, and then I could just Salt Cure them next turn. It's not that serious. It'll be just fine anyway. Alright, my Tauros is going to swap out. I feel like that's all my Tauros has done today. In comes the Boom. Changes the terrain. Might as well get rid of it. Don't want to give Indeedee more damage that it doesn't need. As they go for the CC, they decide to stay in, go for the CC into the Rilla. That does hurt. Don't get me wrong, that does hurt. But thankfully it was intimidated. It actually hurt more than I anticipated it to hurt. They just go for a Gleam. They don't even Trick Room. I was a little confused by that, because that was a pretty opportune time to Trick Room. Maybe if they Trick Room, they come back with Torkoal. But then, what does Torkoal do without the Eruption, though? The Wide Guard essentially negates the Torkoal. I essentially shut the Torkoal down with Wide Guard. Because Torkoal cannot do Torkoal things unless it clicks Eruption. Like, sure, you can Heat Wave. Sure, you can go for Flamethrower. Sure, you can Earth Power. It don't hit the same as Eruption, though. The same way that future Kevin doesn't hit the same as past Kevin, Torkoal without Eruption just doesn't hit the same. Alright, let's see what they swap into. I'm assuming it's going to be Armor Rouge. That's just me. Because the Armor Rouge might at least have a single targeted fire move. Yeah, there's the Armor Rouge in the back. Golden Boy sending out the other Golden Boy. Alright, at this point, I'm like, yes, I could set up, but I could also Salt Cure everything alive. Might as well go for it. But they're an Armarouge with Protect, though. So now that they show me Protect, I'm insinuating or I'm assuming they don't have Wide Guard. That would hammer hurt a lot, by the way. I looked at that in detail. I was like, coming for you. I got him. So that worked out for us. The Protect, no big deal. As long as we can knock out the side mon, the Protect doesn't mean anything. Now they're stuck with both Torkoal and Armarouge on the field. This is why I thought they should have protected. They should have Trick Room last turn at least, because they might have been in a lot better spot. They don't have Psychic Terrain on the field. They don't have any Trick Room on the field. They just have 2 Fire types, and I'm a Garganacl. It's looking nice and pretty for us. Name of the game now is Salt Cure Everything. Now, here's my initial thought. I'm like, there's no way they're going to go for Eruption. We'll be fine. I don't have to click Wide Guard. Huh. Who needs to Wide Guard? They know I have it. They're not going to click it. They'd have to be so dumb to click it. And then they Fire Terra. And then they Fire Terra the Torkoal specifically. I'm like, okay, he's not gonna go for Earth Power if he's clicking Fire Terra. I hit him with the Wood Hammer just to chip it down as much as I could. Because why not? It's my highest damage output. I also hit him with the Salt Cure just to chip him down as much as I could. I was right that they didn't go for the Eruption. Brother hits me with the Heat Wave. What am I supposed to do? That is so much damage. I was so shocked when this happened. I'm like, wow. I guess I just have to click Wide Guard always. And then the Armarouge hits me with the Trick Room. I'm like, hold up. Wait a darn second. I've been here before. This is what losing feels like. Wow. But then I thought back to what I said originally. I'm like, hold on. He specs onto that Heat Wave now. So that was a very bold move, sir. But you specs locked yourself onto that Heat Wave. Do I really bring Tauros back? I hovered Tauros, but I don't think I need Tauros right now. But I guess it's either Tauros or Fluttermane. Fluttermane has Sash, so as long as I knock one out, I'll be fine. I'm banking on this Torkoal being specs. I'm going for the Shadow Ball into the Armarouge, and I'm clicking Wide Guard and not thinking again. Hopefully, I ain't wrong, because if I am wrong, I lose a Fluttermane, I lose my Sash, I lose the game. Probably. Also, if this was we still don't know the other moves on the Armarouge, too. We know Trick Room, we know Protect. Presumably Expanding Force, and then either Armor Cannon or Heat Wave as their last move. Alright, time for the Wide Guard. Gotta protect ourselves from this Heat Wave Torkoal. There it is. Torkoal Heat Wave. I guess they forgot about the Wide Guard from turn 1. Because now, Armarouge also goes for the Heat Wave. Double Heat Waving onto my side of the field. Double Wide Guard protected. And that, my friends, is smelling like a victory here. Big Shadow Ball now on to the Armarouge. Straight one-shots the Armarouge like it's nobody's business. Can't terrestrialize because the Torkoal did that already. Now we have to sit through Grassy Terrain Recovery. Well, all that's left is a Torkoal that's locked up the Heat Wave, so I guess we're fine. Not a big deal entirely. A little bit more Salt Cure chip. We like that. We're fans of that. Shadow Ball into the Torkoal. Wide Guard again, because why not? And then they hit me with the Earth Power. There was no specs. There was no specs that whole time. Wild. Do you know what that means, though? That means last turn, if they went for an Expanding Force outside of the Expanding Force-ness, or the outside of the Psychic Terrain, it would have been a single targeted move. They would have hit my Fluttermane, and then they could have Earth Powered my Fluttermane. They would have knocked out my Fluttermane, calling me to do the Wide Guard play. But hey, didn't happen, is what it is. Anyway, if you guys enjoyed today's video, you know what to do. Hit the like button down below. Subscribe to Pokésports if you haven't done so already. Thank you so much for bearing with me for post-commentary, Kevin. I know that a lot of people like it, but not a lot of people love it. So no worries. Just one more video of post-commentary, Kevin. Then we're back to our usual stuff. We're back to the DLC stuff, too, so get hyped for that. Anyway, if you guys want to go ahead and send me your rental teams or Poképastes, go ahead. Join our rental codes. Chat on our Discord. Links to that are down below in the description or on Pokésports.info. And send me your Regulation F rental stuff. Anyway, I'm Ken, this Pokésports. Thank you so much, Karan, also known as Luigi, for sending this team over on Discord, by the way. Greatly appreciate it. Had an absolute blast with it. And I think, honestly, Fire Tauros might have not done much in today's video, but this just solidified my love for Garganacl in VGC. I think Garganacl needs to be played more, and it's kind of surprising it took such a hard fall off. Like, yes, sure, Urshifu's a thing, but I'm sure there's a Terra type that you can go with Garganacl that'll just figure out Urshifu. Anyway, I'm Ken, this Pokésports. Have yourselves a great rest of your day, and peace out. Bye-bye.